I found this unusual pair of pliers at a thrift store. It's about 5 inches long and has two small serrated rollers at the top. One of them has a wingnut that lets you turn it by hand. Any idea what this tool is used for? What you found is a vintage tape creasing tool, most likely from the 1950s. It was used to create clean, sharp folds in adhesive or fabric tape. The tape would be fed between the two serrated rollers at the top, and turning the wingnut would rotate them, guiding the tape through and pressing a crease into it. This kind of tool was especially useful in crafts, bookbinding, and packaging work, where precision folding was important. Its small size and hand-crank design made it easy to use at a workbench or table. I found this unusual metal object in the attic of an old house. It has 5 thick prongs, though one is broken and a working screw at the top. The surface is covered in a white, crusty layer that might be from corrosion or age. Any idea what it could have been used for? What you found is an anode from a vintage Daniel cell, one of the earliest types of electrochemical batteries. This particular piece is a zinc electrode, and the branching prongs were designed to increase the surface area exposed to the electrolyte solution, allowing for more efficient ion exchange and a stronger electrical output. In a typical Daniell cell, this zinc electrode would have been placed in a glass jar, along with an electrolyte, usually a solution of zinc sulfate. The other half of the cell held a copper electrode immersed in copper sulfate. As the cell operated, electrons flowed from the zinc to the copper, generating a steady current of around 1 volt. These cells were widely used in scientific laboratories, telegraph systems, and early electrical experiments throughout the 19th century. I found this ornate cast iron object in a house built around 1850 in Sweden. It's about 8 inches long and has 2 square openings on the base, plus a decorative upright piece in the back. There's also a marking with the number 6414 and the letter M. It looks like it may have been silver-colored originally, but now it's rusted. Any idea what this was used for? What you found is a cast-iron double inkwell desk stand, likely from the late 19th or early 20th century. These ornate stands were designed to sit on a writing desk and hold 2 inkwells, typically one for black ink and another for red, or occasionally 1 inkwell and 1 sandpot used for blotting freshly written ink. Desk sets like this were widely used in homes, schools, and offices before fountain pens and ballpoint pens became standard. Dear viewers, if you enjoy our videos, please subscribe to the channel and give this one a thumbs up. It influences the YouTube algorithm and the video gets promoted more effectively. Thank you. I found this unusual sterling silver item that looks like a bracelet with a short chain attached to a spindle-shaped piece. It's lightweight and probably from the early 1900s. The base of the spindle has a woman's monogram on it. What you found is most likely a vintage yarn guide bracelet, a small household tool used to help manage yarn tension during knitting or crochet. The bracelet would be worn on the wrist while the spindle-shaped piece at the end of the chain served as a yarn guide, keeping the strand from tangling or slipping as it was pulled through the fingers. Given the monogram and sterling silver construction, this piece was likely owned by someone from an upper-middle-class household in the early 20th century, when needlework was not only a practical skill, but also a symbol of refinement and leisure. I found this paprika-colored ceramic item at an estate sale. It looks kind of like a pig snout and has a heating element inside with a metal mesh screen. It's about the size of a soda can, around 4.5 inches wide at one end, and tapers down to about 3 inches. The power cord is damaged, so I haven't plugged it in. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a Frankoma Pottery Banobug electric insect repellent diffuser, produced between 1965 and 1967. It was originally made by Frankoma for a customer in Wichita, Kansas, who designed it to be electrically heated. Small bug repellent pellets were placed on the wire mesh screen inside. When plugged in, the heat would slowly evaporate the pellets, releasing a vapor that was intended to kill or repel insects. The piece you have is made from ceramic and glazed in Frankoma's signature desert gold finish. Its unusual design with curved openings and a rounded form was both decorative and practical, allowing airflow while housing the heated coil inside. The electrical cord and interior element suggest it was intended for household use, most likely in kitchens or enclosed porches where flies and mosquitoes were a problem. I found this unusual tool among my dad's old collection. It has a spring-loaded shaft and a rotating base that stores multiple drill bits. When aligned, each bit can be removed through a small opening. Any idea what this tool was used for? What you found is a spring-loaded push drill, a hand-powered tool designed for drilling small holes with minimal effort. It was primarily used in woodworking, cabinetry, and general household repairs. The tool operates using a spiral shaft and internal spring. When you push down on the handle, the downward pressure causes the shaft to rotate, which spins the drill bit. Tools like this were especially popular in the mid-20th century and remain collectible today for their simple yet effective design. I found this unusual wooden box measuring about 10 by 4 by 4 inches. It has a compass-like needle on the top, some old wires, and a copper plate stored inside. Any idea what this was used for? What you found is an early form of a galvanometer, a scientific instrument used to detect and measure electric current. The needle on the top resembles a compass, but instead of showing direction, it deflects in response to an electrical current passing through the connected wires and surrounding coil. This type of device was commonly used in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly in educational or laboratory settings. The principle is simple. When current flows through the wire, it generates a magnetic field which interacts with the magnetic needle and causes it to move. The greater the current, the more the needle deflects. The copper plate stored inside the box may have served as part of a test circuit or grounding system. Although it lacks a calibrated scale like later ammeters, this galvanometer could still indicate the presence and relative strength of a current, making it a valuable tool in early electrical experiments. I found this heavy wooden pedestal about 24 inches tall and 7 inches wide in an antique shop in the northeastern United States. It was labeled as sailing related. The top has 4 notches and the wood is very dense. Could this have been used for something specific? What you found is most likely a vintage wooden ashtray stand, possibly repurposed from a decorative baluster or pedestal. The 4 notches carved into the top are typical of traditional ashtrays, meant to hold cigarettes or cigars in place. Its height, around 24 inches, matches the design of freestanding ashtrays that were placed beside chairs or lounge areas. The weight and density of the wood suggest it was built to be sturdy and stable, making it well suited for indoor or even outdoor smoking spaces. While the label suggested a nautical origin, it's possible the piece was either used aboard a ship or simply crafted to resemble maritime design. Ashtray stands like this were commonly used from the early to mid-20th century, especially in social settings where smoking was a regular part of entertaining. I found this old wooden object in Canada. It looks like a giant clothespin or a huge pair of tweezers. It has a strong closing force and opens just enough to grip something like a small board. Any ideas? What you found is a traditional wooden stitching clamp, also known as a saddler's clamp or leatherworker's clamp. It's a hand tool used in leathercraft to hold pieces of leather securely in place while stitching by hand. The clamp is typically held between the legs or mounted to a bench, allowing the user to keep both hands free for sewing. The spring-like tension at the tapered end provides strong, even pressure, which is essential when stitching leather, as it keeps the seams aligned and tight. The opening width you described, about 2 inches, is ideal for gripping belts, wallets, or other medium-sized leather goods. Stitching clamps like this were commonly used by cobblers, saddlers, and leatherworkers throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, and modern versions based on the same design are still used today by traditional leather artisans. I found this small object in the return slot of a Coinstar machine. It looks like a tiny pistol with a brass barrel and a black rubber handle that has some kind of flower-like symbol on it. The barrel is hollow and has 2 indentations. Any ideas? What you found is a key for a steering wheel lock, part of a mechanical anti-theft system that was common before modern electronic car security became widespread. These keys were specifically designed to lock or unlock the clamp mechanism that attaches to the steering wheel, preventing it from turning. Devices like this were widely used from the 1980s through the early 2000s, and although not as prevalent today, Some drivers still use them as an extra layer of protection. I found this small rusted metal piece in a river in central France. It's about 2 inches tall, slightly curved, and has a figure wearing a helmet on top. It has AJAX stamped on it. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a head badge from a vintage bicycle made by the Ajax brand in France. These small metal emblems were attached to the front of the bike frame, specifically the head tube, and typically displayed the manufacturer's logo. This particular badge was produced by the Société Industrielle d'Albert, a major bicycle manufacturer based in the town of Albert in the Somme region of northern France. The factory operated between 1906 and 1913 and was known for producing complete bicycles as well as spare parts, tires, and accessories. Their manufacturing complex was among the most advanced of its kind before World War I. Tragically, both the town and the factory were nearly destroyed during the war, especially in the Battle of the Somme in 1916, one of the deadliest battles in recorded history. I found this small metal and wooden tool with 2 prongs. It looks like it might be used in the kitchen. The tines are exposed when resting, and they slide back when you press the handle. Does anyone know what this could be? What you found is a spring-loaded pickle picker, a small kitchen tool designed to retrieve pickles or other items from jars without using your fingers or a full-sized fork. The 2 prongs remain extended at rest and retract slightly when the handle is pressed, giving you better control when reaching into a jar. Pickle pickers like this were especially popular in American kitchens during the 1950s and 1960s. They came in various styles. Some used plungers with hooked wires, while others like yours featured fixed metal tines and a simple spring mechanism. I found this large brown glass orb floating in a lake. It's completely sealed and looks like hand-blown glass. Any idea what it might have been used for? What you found is a vintage glass fishing float, once used by fishermen to keep their nets or long lines afloat. These hollow glass spheres were tied to large sections of fishing gear and set adrift in the ocean, helping to keep the net suspended near the surface. This particular float appears to be hand-blown, likely made in the early to mid-20th century. The rough sealed end, called a pontil mark, is a typical feature of traditional hand-blown floats. Although they were originally made in various colors including green, blue, and amber, the color usually depended on the type of recycled glass available at the time. Glass floats were widely used in the Pacific Ocean by fishing fleets from Japan, Korea, and other countries, but by the 1970s they had largely been replaced by plastic and synthetic alternatives. I found these blunt, silver-plated scissors at an estate sale. The blades are serrated, but they don't actually cut anything. Any idea what they were used for? What you found is a pair of antique grape shears, commonly used in the Victorian era for serving fresh grapes at the table. These shears were designed not to cut through tough material, but to clip small grape stems cleanly and gracefully without bruising the fruit. The ornate silver-plated handles were made to complement elegant table settings, especially during formal dinners or afternoon teas. Their serrated blades helped grip the grape stem, while the short, blunt tips minimized the risk of damaging nearby grapes. In the last video, I asked you to identify this hefty, deer-shaped metal object. This item is part of a kinetic desk toy that's missing its base. These little balancing figures were popular in the 1980s and were designed to rock back and forth in place. I really appreciate everyone who shared their guesses in the comments. It helps the video reach more people and allows the channel to grow. Now I want to invite you to identify another unusual object. What is this weird silicone thing shaped like a bear? It has spiral ends and adjustable straps, and it looks like it's meant to wrap around or attach to something. What do you think it's used for? Leave your guesses in the comments and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you found it interesting. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and lets more people discover the channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.